Hey everyone, welcome to the Break Room with JB. This is episode number 4, and if you don't know what that means, meaning you haven't been listening, which you probably should have, that means this is the first of our Reunited Series, and we do have a special guest today, and I will get to him in just a second. But first, I really do want to thank you for choosing the Break Room with JB over the thousands and tens of thousands of other podcast choices you have. It really does, or I really am appreciative that you chose this one out of all your other choices. Don't forget to join the Break Room with JB at thebreakroomjb.weebly.com. We are also on Facebook now. So the Break Room with JB, if you search that on Facebook, you will find us there as well. They have links to the website. I will also be posting upcoming guests and so forth, the time that those episodes will drop on that website as well. So speaking of which, that means this is episode number 4, which we just mentioned, and the beginning of our Reunited series. And we have a special guest, a long time friend, a person that I don't know, I'm at a loss for words about right now. I'll probably make him blush if I start, saying some mushy words and so forth. But anyways, it's the man, the myth, the legend, Rockin Steve. Hey, Rockin Steve, how are you?
JB, how are you? And listen, I never blush. It's one thing I stopped doing years ago.
Meaning wearing blush or just blushing?
I stopped doing that this last week, but blushing in general was years ago.
Awesome. Well, listen,
thanks for blowing me up.
Well, I really do appreciate you taking the time to join us, and you have the pleasure and the privilege, I should say, of being the Break Room with JB's Reunited Series guest number 1.
I really appreciate that. That's pretty cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for reaching out to me. I feel very honored to be that first guest.
Oh, no. Hey, the honor is all mine to have you on this show. And I hope everybody out there enjoys it, because I know it's going to be a good one. All right. So, guys, listen, if you're not familiar with Rockin Steve and I used to work together at a radio station called WPDH back in the Hudson Valley, Poughkeepsie area, way back in the day. I'd say late 90s, early 2000s. Rockin Steve was on the morning show, which we'll get into in just a second. I started out interning and helping with the morning show and grew into production, et cetera, et cetera. So, but Rockin Steve, just give me a quick little... I wasn't there when you started. So Give me a little synopsis about how did you start there at PDH, or how did you start in radio?
Okay, so PDH was my start in radio. So I was on 2 variations of the WPDH morning show. The first one was Waking Up with the Wolf. And the way I started was I was going to college, and I loved the show so much, and radio has always been my thing, always. Back to Howard Stern and everything. So I started out with going to college for radio, and I made my class schedule so that I could listen to the whole Waking Up with the Wolf show. So one day around Christmas time, he was all by himself, and I called him up, as I called every day. And he said, "Hey, Steve, what are you doing? You want to come in and give me a hand?" I said, "Oh, are you kidding me? Of course I do."
Really?
Yeah, I went in, helped him out that day, and the rest is history.
Really? So that's how it started. He just, or you just called in and he said, "Hey, come on in and help me out."
Yeah, because I always called in every day up until that point, and he was overwhelmed. He was by himself or something. And I know how the story was. It wasn't long, because I know it ended up being the day that James Earl Jones was there.
Oh, okay.
My first day. So I went in. I don't know why. He made it sound like he needed my help. I could never understand why I needed my help when everyone was there and James Earl Jones was there. So I went in. My first day and James Earl Jones was there. It was a great day in radio.
Oh, that is awesome. So it just kind of, you hear these stories about people starting in certain industries just on a whim, or just, as a, I guess, a freak accident, I don't want to say, but, luck. Yeah. And kind of the same thing, huh?
It's the definition of dumb luck, Junior Brown.
Definition of dumb luck. Okay.
And it's what I built a 5-year radio career on, was dumb luck.
5 years? I thought it was longer than that.
5 years is all it was, 95 to 2001.
Oh, okay. So what you started with the Wolf then, like you said, Waking Up with the Wolf, and that migrated to Cooper and Tobin, right?
Well, there was a short-lived show in between.
That's right. Yep.
Where Tobin was the head guy, but he didn't run the board because he didn't know how. So Jimmy Mack was the big voice guy, He ran the board, and it was me, Jimmy Mack, Tobin, and Mikey.
Yeah, Mike Cole.
And
Yep.
so that show was very short-lived, and thank God it was because it didn't work out. The chemistry wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Coop came in. I want to say it was about 3 months that show lasted.
Really?
So yeah, and then Coop came in, and it was December, I think he came in. I'm not sure when. No, it's probably no, because I started in December. So yeah, who knows? Dates are we don't really know
it
about
doesn't
that.
it doesn't matter. But Coop came in, and pretty much the rest is history. And our friend Mark Cooper, bless him and all that. Gosh, what's it been? 5 years now since he had
Something like
passed?
that. Yeah.
Yeah. But the Cooper and Tobin show took off in the Hudson Valley, became the #1 morning show really quick, which you were a staple of, I should say, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I know you not only helped out, with things behind the scenes, but you became kind of like their go-to person for, I don't want to say stunts, but skits,
You know what?
gags.
I'll say stunts because I actually did a stunt when the Tawana Bully case was going on. I was handing out CDs in the courthouse where when they bust people in from the city.
Oh,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and so I was handing out CDs of the hoax. With I can't show everybody obviously because they can't see, but I'll show you the cover of it. You remember this?
Yes, the hoax. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was handing out these CDs at the Tawana Bully trials in Poughkeepsie for like one day. So when I was doing that, there was a reporter from the Village Voice who did a whole story on me. And to this day, I have that saved, preserved forever in plaque form that's hanging on my wall.
Really, with your name and everything mentioned about how you're
Yeah.
handing out those CDs. I remember. Well, I don't because I was young at the time. I don't even want to say. I mean, when you got your start in radio, I was still in high school. But
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
but I
Aging
do.
me.
What's that?
You're aging me in front of everybody.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, but I do remember that situation with the Tawana Raleigh incident up there in the Hudson Valley. Now, on the Cooper and Tobin show, I guess. All right, we'll call them stunts since you're okay with that.
Yeah, stunts are good. Stunts
Right.
are. We can also call them massive acts of courage.
I'll tell you what, yeah, because some of them did take some courage. The ones that are fresh in my mind, obviously, are the ones that I was there for when I was interning for the morning show, and obviously you are part of it. One of them, if one of them I wrote down, I don't know if you remember when you had to go and hand out, or not had to, I should say, but you were sent to downtown Poughkeepsie to talk to a lady of the evening and try to convince that person to,
Oh,
perform things for you. And I think you were trying to trade Pepsis and CDs and a T-shirt. Is that
that was
true?
one of my favorite bits. It was called Steve and the Crack Hole. So basically, I went to this park where one of our frequent visitors
Yes.
told us there was a crack hole
Mm.
that was infamous. So they said, why don't we send Rockin Steve down there and see if she'll do anything for PDH t-shirts, soda, and maybe some free stuff. So the funniest part of the story was I did that, and she of course resisted. However, the funniest part was when she said she was going to call the cops on me. So
Yeah,
I said, you're going to call the cops on me? Are you kidding me?
that's
You
right.
know, crack hole.
I remember that. But you know what? The one thing you probably should have told her is the value of all the stuff you were trying to offer. I mean, I know it
I
wasn't
did.
cash.
She didn't care. I told her. First she threatened to beat me up. Then she said she's gonna call the cops.
Well,
And I,
I'm sure you probably could have taken her. I mean, I never saw her, obviously, but I'm
I
sure you
could
could
have
have taken.
taken it, but I would never hit a woman. But if it came to it, she would have went down like a ton of bricks.
Oh gosh. So yeah, that was one that I remember from being there. A couple others that I have been reminded of, I should say. One of them, I see. I think this was before my time, but I think you were set up at Roofathon, and this was something we, as a radio station, did every year on the roof of 7-Eleven to raise money for muscular dystrophy, and it was an awesome event. I mean, I look forward to that. That was kind of like,
Oh,
I mean, the Masters, if you will, if you're a golf fan for us in that time in that area. It was such a great time, such a fun time hanging out with everybody, and we raised a heck of a lot of money every single year for a great cause. Excuse me. But one of them was, I think you were put up against a wall and had to dodge some things, if I'm not mistaken. Water balloons, if
Yeah, I
not.
think so. I vaguely remember that one, but let me tell you about the Roofathon.
Okay.
Roofathon was awesome. That was what made me a radio god.
A
Roofathon.
radio god now.
I say it. There I say it. I actually
Hey,
put on my Facebook page that someone disputed. I said I'm a radio icon in the Hudson Valley, and I say I'll stand by that. But for the purposes of this podcast, I'm saying, damn it, I was a radio god.
hey, listen, I'll raise one to you in that case, as you can see in the camera right now. And for all that you have done and I guess put up with, yes, you have earned that qualification.
Put
So,
up with a lot, put up with a lot more than I've done. And the funny
well,
thing is about that is that they, especially John Tobin, loved to get me going and aggravated, and even
he
Coop did.
did. He would always
Just,
rile you up, and he knew how
yeah.
to do it, and it was always be a little smile on his face while he did it. And but hey, you played along, you played
Well,
along great.
yeah, you know what? I tried to, but a lot of times it was serious emotion for me because they made me mad.
Right.
Yeah, and then even they said, even John said, that's radio gold. He would say, he's like, pissing off Rockin Steve is radio gold.
Well, speaking of one that they or you probably got riled up into was I remember the time that Coop said that he could get a monkey in there to replace you.
Yeah, because he was such an ass on the air to me. He was a nice guy off the air, but on the air. And it's funny thing about him is the first day he came in, he comes in, and I'm a big guy, right? And so I'll never
Hmm.
forget when the first time I saw him. He's bigger. He was bigger than me, and so he comes in, he comes up to me, and he goes, "Hey, baby, I've been listening to you on the way up here, down here. I mean, and like what you do, I used to do the same thing you do, and I'll never disrespect you." And that was the biggest lie I ever heard in my life.
Well, like you just said though, he never disrespected you off the air, did he?
No,
To
but
no.
he got carried away on the air. Very much
Well,
carried
yeah.
away.
Hey, I mean, you do things for ratings, and yeah, I
Yeah.
understand though. I
And
get you, but
I'm also to blame because I would have done anything to be on radio as I did. That was my life's dream, and I lived my dream, which a lot of people can't say they have, unfortunately. But I lived my dream for one, and I would have done anything to be on radio.
yeah. Well, speaking of your relationship with Coop, on-air relationship, I should say, because off the air and I'll be honest with you, you would give, and you probably still will. I mean, I'm not saying that you wouldn't, but you would give the shirt off your back to help out anybody that was worthy, and I know he would too.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so since you brought up Coop there, compare them. You worked for Wolf and Coop. Compare working for the Wolf and working for Cooper.
Okay. Of course, I don't want to disparage anybody. Both great guys. However, the only thing I'm going to say that's different between them is they both were good frontmen.
Mm-hmm.
They could run the show smoothly. They could haul it back in when it's got out of the line. They all could do that good.
Right.
They both cared about people. They both helped when they could.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Coop was very charitable. Coop was as well as Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing I think that separates the both of them is that sometimes, even though Wolf didn't want this to happen, he would kind of come off as a little bit pompous. Like I'm Wolf. I'm on the number one show in Hudson Valley. And that's what people would say to me all the time. And I could kind of see that. Not that he's a bad guy. I mean, but that's just my difference. And Coop was genuinely, a down to earth guy who would go to the bar with you after an appearance and have a
Exactly.
couple beers.
Yeah. That was what I was just going to bring up. I don't know Wolf as much, or I'd never had that much of experience. I had a
Yeah.
short stint with him up in Albany after WPDH. Well, the
But
thing about Coop was, yeah, he didn't care your background, where you came from, what you did maybe 5 minutes ago, or what you said about him last week. You could have you could have said some nasty things about him last week, but he would always be willing to sit down, have a beer with you, and talk and just hang out.
yeah, definitely.
So listen, after we just compared your two, I guess I don't want to call them bosses, but the lead men of the two shows that you have worked for, I know in the latter years, as far as with Cooper and Tobin there were some instances where you you might have not done what you were supposed to do, and maybe there were some punishments laid out. But hold on, before you get to that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Break Room with JB. And this is the Break Room with JB's Reunited Series. We got our special guest, Rockin Steve, here. He's going to answer the questions about the punishments. And I say that with air quotes, by the way, and I know you can't see them. But the punishments he had to deal with on the Cooper and Tobin show in the later years. So we'll be right back here on the Break Room with JB. All right, we're back here on the Break Room with JB and our Reunited Series, our first episode of the Reunited Series, and we have our special guest, Rockin Steve, here. But before we get back to Rockin Steve, I just wanted to remind you to visit thebreakroomjb.weebly.com. That is the website. We are also on Facebook now, so you can just search the Break Room with JB on Facebook. Again, and I forgot to mention this at the very top, but Alexa, if you want to check out the Break Room with JB's podcast on Alexa, you have to say, Alexa, play the Break Room with JB's podcast. Okay, so you have to say it that way. It works every time. The other way I told you last week didn't really work 100%, I should say.
Do you know how many Alexas you just turned on?
I know. And you know what, as a matter of fact, thank you, Steve. I turned mine on because I can hear it in the other room. Yeah. So give me 1 second there.
All right.
So yes, guys, if you just say play the Break Room with JB podcast, that will get you on with us on Alexa. Exciting news. I have Google coming out very shortly. I'm waiting on iHeartRadio and Pandora, but we are on over, I think, about almost 15 different podcast sites. So check out, again, the Break Room thebreakroomjb.weebly.com to find out all the information and all the platforms we are on. Okay, getting back to our special guest here on the Reunited Series, we have Rockin Steve. Thank you for hanging out through the break.
Junior Brown.
I know, Junior Brown. They don't know that nickname of mine, but that is one that was pretty much my radio nickname. I think Tobin started that, didn't he?
He definitely did.
Yeah.
Tobin was the name giver of the show. All the interns got names.
Yes, and well, I'll go into that maybe if I have him on in the future about how he used to change his voice when he was referring to me because he thought I was just an angry young man. You know what? I really might have been. I'm not gonna put that past him or put that past me, I should say, back then.
Well, you want to hear something funny? I was just talking to the Zoles promoting this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I said I'm on this Junior Brown podcast, and he goes, "Who, the young grumpy producer?"
Yeah, but you know that he would not record with anybody else but me. He would not record with his commercials that he did for the Hudson Valley Renegades and for everything else. He would not record any other thing or anything that he came into the studio for without me. And I'll be honest with you, Zulz was a good guy. He treated me extremely well. And that's one person planning on reaching out to and maybe getting him on a little bit too. So
yeah, you definitely should. You know who he is. He's the current day Dick Clark, the oldest teenager in the world.
Yes, the oldest teenager who has never taken a drink or a smoke, right?
Yeah, I don't know how he does it.
I don't know either, but you know what? God bless him. More power to him.
Yeah, that's what I say too.
Yeah. So listen, we were talking right before the break about some things that, you kind of did wrong and had to pay punishments for it. But I wanted to kind of go back just a little bit more and talk about when you started with the Wolf, and even I think a little bit of Cooper and Tobin. You were doing that for free, weren't you?
I sure was.
Yeah.
Like I said, the first day he wanted me to come in was like the best day ever. December 23rd, 1995, as a matter of fact.
Do you know the time?
6 a.m. Well, it was actually, I got there at 7 because they already started the show, and I called in.
There was traffic.
Yeah, a little bit. So that was my first day. And I didn't get paid for, it was like 2 years. I was working for free as an intern while I was in college, so that was a good thing,
Yeah, you got some experience.
Yeah. So then Wolf left, and I said, this is a great time to, negotiate. Mm-hmm. Because they can't lose me and the Wolf, let's be honest, at the same time. It can't happen.
They can't
Not,
lose you and the wolf, so you're putting
yeah,
yourself in that high stature right now.
yeah. At this time, as you know, at this time I had become pretty popular. So
Yes.
I don't want to say who I was, but they could not afford realistically to lose both the wolf and me at the same time. So I said, now I have a bargaining tool right here.
And
But
you, I'm sorry, with that bargaining tool, you were trying to get paid, and you were, I guess I don't want to say enlisting, but kind of, you had the listeners behind your back, if you will. A bunch of them wanted you to get paid and so forth. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a plane hired with a
there
banner
was
that say, I think it said something like WPDH, pay Rockin Steve, and it flew around the
exactly.
Hudson Valley.
And then I jumped out of it.
You jumped out of it.
Yeah. So it flew around the Hudson Valley, the entire Hudson Valley, from Poughkeepsie all the way around, and then eventually, it flew over the station, and I had to train with a skydiver for like a month
Really?
because it was such a precise drop that if I didn't get at the right time, who knows where I would have landed? I could have landed on the top of Massa or something, whatever.
Or
So
I could just imagine your parachute. I'm sorry, being caught on the
yeah,
radio
right.
tower on the hill behind the radio station, and you just dangling there.
And no one would let me down, believe it or not.
Well, they just try to shoot BB guns and whatnot up
Yeah.
there to try to hit the wires.
So I trained for that, but this was before the time you couldn't jump by yourself. Now, if you train, you have to jump tandemly. So I'm training for that, and I'm like, oh God, I don't know if I can do this. So we're flying around the Hudson Valley, and then it comes time for the big jump. I'm like, oh God, I can't do it. I can't do it. There's no way I can do it. And then the guy in the plane with me is like, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. He's like, just go over it one more time. Here's what you gotta do. Blah blah blah. Count to 10. Pull the ripcord. Yada yada. So I'm like, you sure? I'm like, well, my luck it'll malfunction. He's like, don't worry. There's a backup. You're not gonna die.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm like, all right, you sure? I'm like, I know I can't do it. I can't do it. He's like, listen, you have T-5 to make it to land on the radio station property. So I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it. He's like, you gotta do it, Rockin'. You gotta. I'm like, push me. He's like, what? I'm like, I'm not gonna jump. You have to push me.
Push you.
Yeah. I'm like, you have to push me. So he's like, you sure you want me to push you? I'm like, you have to, because I'm not gonna do it otherwise.
Unknown caller.
Who's calling me right now? Hold on.
It's okay.
So I said, oh, you have to push me.
Hold on one second.
All
Just
right.
push you.
Yeah, so I'm like, you have to push me or it's not gonna happen. So I'm like, count down from 5. And when you get to 1, push me. I'll be ready. I'm like, I might not be ready, but I'm gonna have to do it. I have no choice. So he counts down and he pushes me at 1. So I knew it was coming, but still, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And I'm flying down. And I was flying down for a little while before I remembered I had to count to 10 because I'm Rockin Steve. So, so I started counting back from 10. I'm like, oh, I pull it. Oh my God, let me tell you though, in retrospect, that was one of the best things I ever did. I never thought I would ever do it. The free fall, oh my God.
You see, I couldn't do that. Did you land? I mean, this is like I said before my time there, and at this time I was probably in middle school. Not to show your age or anything. But where on that? Because I have that in my head. The property of the radio station. Whereabouts did you land?
I landed behind the building. There's a big
up near the hill, the field.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I released the parachute, which of course took me 10 minutes to do that because I'm Rockin Steve.
I could just see you flailing in that chute like that, like you're underneath the sheets of a bed and you can't get out.
That's my worst fear too. I'm like, oh, get me out of here. And finally got out, ran into the station. They're like, Rockin Steve made it. They're clapping. And then they paid me.
They did.
Before that, there was an enormous outcry from the listeners to pay me. And it was ridiculous that I wasn't paid because all of the classic stuff, the classic stuff, the water cooler talk,
Yeah.
is what I did. What I was doing for free.
Right. Yeah,
So.
with all the other extra stuff that you did. Absolutely. And speaking of listener support, since you brought that up, let's go kind of a different way, I guess you can say, and talk about now you're paid anyways from jumping out of the airplane and so forth. You risked your life to get the minimal salary, because I'll be honest with you, I remember and this was 1999, so gosh, 21 years ago. Holy cow, I can't believe I'm saying 21 years ago. Holy. So, anyways, 21 years ago, I rem- I don't know how much I want to really say of this right now because it kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Go ahead.
But this was I had done my little internship with the morning show and so forth, and I was kind of hanging around the same way you were, is like waiting to get paid. And at this point, I was helping out the production department. There was only one person, and they were overloaded. Justin Foy, as a matter of fact, love the guy. I know he might have been difficult for some people to get along with, but I really did appreciate him. And he gave me really my first chance as far as being a professional in radio.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy, and he's still doing it to this day. He was always nice to me. I love for. He was like one of my biggest fans, and he would tell me, he's like, Rockin Steve, he's like, I can't believe the stuff you do. He's like, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, he was always a down to earth, kind of level headed guy. Liked everybody and so forth. I mean, he'd crack a joke here and there at you and whatever. But yeah, very nice guy. So, anyways, I was in the same position as you were. At one point, trying to, negotiate my way to getting a paying gig because I was just helping out at this point. And I was 19. Hey, 19-year-old hustling at the radio station, trying to get something going. And I had just gotten in an accident, which wasn't my fault, but we'll go into that later. Well, it really wasn't. It really wasn't.
I know, I'm kidding.
Somebody pulled it out in front of me on a rainy day near IBM Poughkeepsie and whatever. Anyways, so I remember trying to negotiate. I went into Justin. I said, Justin, dude, I just got in an accident. I need to get a new car. I said, I need the money, blah, blah, blah. Can you really please? Because I knew the things were in motion and people were kind of, it was this stumbling, bumbling asshole. I knew. Right. All right, hold on. I knew things were in motion and I was expecting something soon. So I kind of went in and pushed him. I said, dude, I need something because of this, that, and the other half and yada, yada, yada. So Scott Carlin, operations manager at the time.
Another good guy.
Nice guy. But somebody neglected to tell me that Scott didn't have all his fingers. And I don't know what happened.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? I think one of them's a little bit shorter. And I guess, like I said, I don't know if I should be telling this story. But anyways, so Scott, yeah, very nice guy. He treated me very well. I know he always looked like he was under, 100,000 tons of pressure. He just had that look about him as he walked around. So he came to the office one day, the production office and so forth, and offered me the job and put out his hand to shake my hand. I put out my hand. I looked down, Steve, and I saw that thing missing, and I kind of jerked back a little bit. And just because I wasn't expecting, a nub. I mean, he had all of them, but one of them was, down to a little nub. A nub to be missing. Nobody filled me in to that point, so I looked like a complete idiot at 19 years old. But, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I signed that contract, oh, gosh, that was for, what, $14,000 at 19 years old, and you're thinking, oh, my gosh, I made it. Man, that wouldn't buy you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich today.
No. And speaking about money, what I made when I worked there was crap. And the only reason why I got by and did well was because my hourly wage sucked, even by those standards.
Right.
But the appearance fees and my DJ business is what kept me afloat.
Exactly. You had the DJ business. I'm surprised we haven't mentioned that yet. Yes, the DJ business, the appearance fees, and hey, let's be honest. Being in radio, we got a lot of stuff for free. I mean, you can't deny that fact. I mean, honest, and I'm not saying that to gloat. I'm not saying that to rub that into anybody. I'm saying that for the simple fact that we didn't get paid worth, anything unless you were the top echelon as far as morning shows and DJs go. So that free stuff really helped out.
Yeah, if you didn't get paid unless you were Bob Wolf or Mark Cooper or John Tobin, and you made the big money. However, I remember the free stuff I got. I tell you, I never paid for a meal. I went to this local grocery store and I had a free pass. Get whatever I want, go up to the register, get it out, just give them a plug every day.
Right.
I got 2 free cars, and here's a funny story. Tell the story real quick.
Cars? No, wait a second. You got 2 free cars?
Yeah, listen though.
You hooked me up, dude. I was in an accident. I had to go into debt to get this car, man.
Well, listen, you're not gonna be so upset when I tell you the story.
Okay.
So do you remember Mike Ninney?
Of course, I love Mike Ninney. Oh my
God,
Mike Ninney is a sweet guy.
One of the best guys ever. I used to call him Ninja Luch, right? So I had this, I want to say 1995 Dodge Plymouth Acclaim, right?
Hmm.
And the car was good, never did me wrong, but I didn't know I want a new car. So I'm like, Mike, do me a favor. Talk to your auto dealer clients. See if you can hook a brother up, because at this point I was kind of young,
Hmm.
and my credit sucked. It still sucks, but it's better. and I didn't have a lot of money. I'm like, see what you can do for me. And this is going off the fact that I never paid for clothes, groceries, never any restaurants, anything. So I'm like, if I can do that, let me see if I can multiply and get a car. So I had the 1995 Plymouth Acclaim, and so a couple weeks later, Mike comes back to me, goes, Rockin, I got you a car. I'm like, really? And yeah, he goes, yeah, it's from Saturn and Poughkeepsie. I'm like, oh, great.
Oh God, yes. I don't get. Go ahead.
So it's like, I'm like, all right, when can I get it? So he tells me when I can get it, blah, blah, blah. So I pull up to get it, and guess what it was?
I don't even, to be honest with you, I can't even imagine. Go ahead.
It was the 1995 Plymouth Acclaim, in better shape than the one I had. I'm like, really, Ninja? I'm like, I appreciate it. However, Ninja Luch, you told me Saturn or Poughkeepsie. Here I am thinking I'm gonna get a '99 Saturn something.
Yeah.
And you give me the same fucking car that I had?
Well,
I'm like,
see,
are you kidding me?
I bought my first car that I ever bought was a used car, but it was from Saturn of Poughkeepsie there. Yep, right in the corner. And that you mentioned that. Holy cow, that's oof. Mine was a 1995 Mazda Protege. That's what it was.
Nice
95
cars
Mazda
back in the
Protege.
day.
They were, and I do miss that car, and that's the one that got beat up that day.
Oh yeah.
It was yeah, it was a long time. But anyways, so we got a little off track there, reminiscing about the good old days and the good people that worked at the station and so forth. And that's no problem. Hey, but going back to your days, especially on the morning show, um, and I'm gonna go with the facts that I know when I interned there, when you worked there, and we were all kind of part of the show itself. And there were a couple times that you kind of got in trouble for quote unquote, and I know people can't see me doing the air quotes, but dropping the ball. The the one thing I can remember the best is that Coop would always get on to you, excuse me, for not switching the tape over. And for what people don't know, or people don't know what that is that we always had a cassette that was down below kind of the board on the right hand side that would record the day's show. And then that cassette would be taken into the production office and, cut up for promos and so forth, or any good bits for CDs and so forth. So that tape had to be flipped over, because if you know cassettes, they only had a certain amount of time. I think it was 2 hours, right?
Yeah,
Steve.
So, yeah.
Yeah, 2 hours per side. So, record 2 hours and then flip it over. So about 8 o'clock, had to flip it over. And that's probably the one thing that I can remember you getting pounced on, I should say, the most, was not turning over the tape. So you had to do some punishments. One of which was getting splashed for punishments. And I would hope you would fill our listeners in on a couple of those, if you would, please.
Yeah, so that started one of the biggest bits I've ever done. And that was basically Coop's idea. So, but before I get into that, I have to tell you about the tapes now. Mm-hmm. At this point, the tapes were
Wait, hold on. Are you trying to defend yourself right now?
Yeah.
Are you trying to, after 20 years or so, defend yourself for not flipping over the tape?
Yeah, but here's why. Once you hear the story, you'll know why.
Okay.
So at this point in the show, I was doing both the phones and obviously some on the street stuff and, flipping the tape. So sometimes we have topics or whatever, and I have to, answer the phones and run back and forth, give them notes and stuff about what the caller was, So then sometimes I would forget to flip the tape. So in my defense, I had too much going on, really.
And this was I was going to say, this is before the days of computers where you could type it into the computer, send to them who's on the line, what they're going to talk about, and so forth. That's right. I forgot you did the phones as well. Go ahead.
And you know how crazy the phones were. And Coop would say, get the phones, brother, man. Because it was a big thing, So I'm telling them we can't have it both ways. Either if I got to do the phones and all this other crap, you have to flip the tape.
So, but you would get in trouble because it was quote unquote, and I'm doing the air quotes, and Steve can see Rocket Steve can see me doing the air quotes. It was quote unquote your job, so you would get in
Yeah,
trouble with that, and then Coop would send you out to get splashed and explain.
right.
Go ahead.
So the splashing thing became one of the biggest bits we ever did. So when I did something wrong, people would have to call up if it was raining out and tell us where there's a big puddle. So I'd have to go to the puddle with a cell phone in a little Glad bag, so the phone didn't get destroyed.
I was gonna say, what's Glad bag for? Okay, gotcha.
And people would drive by and honk and splash me. And I would egg them on, of course. Come on, you piece of crap, come splash me. You're gonna hit the side of a house. You're not gonna hit the puddle. Blah blah blah. And you hear the water going down my throat and choking me. You know.
So that
They were lines miles long for that. People
really.
would wait on their way to work for an opportunity to splash me.
So,
But you know what I loved about those bits? When
what's
they were
that?
done, I went home because I couldn't go back to work soaking wet.
That's true. Yeah. Oh gosh, I remember that. A couple of the bits. Yeah, you would add. All right, I'll do this if I can go home afterwards. I'll do this if I
Yeah,
can go home
exactly.
afterwards. Yeah.
I didn't tell them that because I didn't tell them that was my ulterior motive. But it was
Right.
obvious I couldn't come back to work with a radio board, and soaking wet filled the clothes.
Well, now you just reminded me that one of the bits, or one of the instances, or one of the stunts, I should say, that you did that you didn't go home right afterwards was, I don't know if you remember, um, there was the dumpster pad or so forth was being cemented
Oh,
over, and you
I
they
love
had
that bit.
you, and this is, I mean, I was part of the show at that point, and I was actually out there reporting to the show for, about what was going on, and you had to drop trowel, meaning drop your pants, and put your imprint into the newly laid cement. And the construction people were all for it. I mean, they were
They
having a great
were,
time. They loved it. And you signed your little name and so forth in there. And I
yeah.
remember you having, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. So yeah, you're totally correct. It was wet cement on the dumpster slab or whatever you call it. So I stuck my ass in it and I wrote RS and the date. And then
Yeah.
I don't know who had this unfortunate job, but somebody hosed my ass off in the back of the radio station.
Oh, there's a picture of it. I think, you know what? It was one of the construction crews, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Yeah, because there was a picture of you holding the sheet because you had to hold the sheet over yourself as you waddled through the parking lot to go over to where the hose was to get hosed off.
It was funny. And one of the lines I remember, I don't know why I remember this line, was I'm reading the back of the contents of the cement mix.
Yes.
And it said it has lime. I hope I don't get freaking Lyme disease. And that
Yeah.
was a big line.
Oh gosh, I'm just glad that didn't harden. I mean, you'd have some troubles in
Oh,
that right now.
I'm like, that's why, like, as soon as I'm done, I'm like, all right, guys, come on, hose this off before it gets hard on me.
They'd have to take a chisel to your or a jackhammer to your backside there.
But then, do you know the end story? Do you know the end story to that, though?
No, go ahead.
Mike Harris,
Oh yes, yes, I know this. I'm sorry. Go ahead, but go ahead and finish.
yeah, who was the general manager of this cluster of stations,
Yes.
made them cover up my ass imprint.
Yeah, I remember Tobin actually coming on right after that whole thing and doing his Mike Harris impersonation with a letter
Yeah,
to the editor thing that he did
yeah,
quite frequently when Mike would do. I mean, there's no getting around it. Stupid stuff,
yeah. And
to
the only
thwart.
saving grace. Go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The only saving grace was my initials were there, but my ass imprint wasn't. So it was like useless.
Oh, they kept your initials. I didn't remember. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they're
been a long
there to
time.
this day as a reminder.
Well, we should turn that into a shrine and go lay candles and flowers down to that every year. Then a
When
little
I'm
tough
dead,
for
you can.
me. What's that?
When I'm dead, you can do that. I'm still alive though.
Well, no, I meant just a shrine for the incident that occurred at that point.
Gotcha.
So I know we were talking about punishments and got kind of sidetracked there because that popped into my head when you were talking about going home afterwards, and that was one I remember stunt you didn't go home afterwards. The one of the other punishments I remember, and it's I guess ingrained in my memory. I don't know why. Is when you were sent, and I can't remember the Route 209 was it? You were sent out there, and I don't know what happened. I really don't remember what set that up, but you were sent out there to to walk the side of the road. I think sucking your thumb with your pants down around your ankle.
Yeah, that was
I
stupid.
mean,
That was in 299. I did something wrong. I
299.
don't.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
299 in New Paltz, in between New Paltz and Highland, and I don't remember what I did, but of course,
You
one of
did
my
something.
punishments, like you said, yeah, of course, I always did something, no matter what. So I was pulled over talking to them about something, what had happened, and then the people were calling him up that were passing me by, and they're like, he's like half a mile from a cop, pulled over. So they knew there was a cop right by me. So they're like, "All right, Steve, now we want you to get out of the car and drop your pants." I said, "I'm not dropping my pants. There's a cop right there." So they're like, "No, you're not gonna go to jail. Just drop your pants as long as you don't drop your underwear." I'm like, "All right. If I go to jail, you better bail me out." They're like, "You're not going to jail." So they're like, "Walk towards the cop with your pants down, with your thumb in your mouth, and go to the cop and say, 'Help me! I can't find my mommy.'" So I start walking, and I'm huffing and puffing because I'm trying to walk with my pants down. It wasn't easy.
and your thumb in your mouth.
Yeah, exactly. So I get like close up to the cop car where he can see me,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes, and before I get up to the car to say anything to him, he goes, "Rockin' Steve, get back in your car right now." And so then the guys go, "Yeah, he's listening. Yeah, he's listening." We
Yep.
were all applauding.
Well, that is one punishment that sticks into my mind still to this day, obviously, since I can still recall it. But I know there's many more. I was speaking to a friend of ours, and I mentioned one of the most uncomfortable instances that I dealt with there at the radio station was one where you I don't know what incurred on this, and maybe you can shed some light on it. But you took the headphones and you were ticked off at Coop for something, but you took the headphones and slammed them down. I remember I'm standing at the edge. I know our counter was kind of like an L shape. I was standing at the edge of the counter, and you had to rush past me. I mean, you slammed those down and ran out of the damn building, or not the building, but the studio and so forth. But I'll tell you what. I mean, you should. I know you didn't see it, but I looked at Tobin's face. I looked at Coop's face at this time, and Mikey obviously was in the other studio. But I mean, their faces were like, "Oh my God, what just happened?" I mean, it wasn't something that was planned, you know.
No.
It was just one that kind of, got me a little. What's going on here? So I don't know if you can shed some light on that, but I'd appreciate it if you could.
I definitely can.
Okay.
So this is also available on SoundCloud. If you search My Man Mike Colvin, he has all this stuff up there.
Yes, I have listened to a couple of those things. As a matter of fact, I think I have almost every single CD that was produced through our morning show. But unfortunately, nowadays you don't have those CD players to the computer.
I was gonna say good luck playing them.
Yeah. Anyway, so go ahead, shed some light onto me in this situation where you slammed the headphones and left the studio.
So some listener called up and said I was at an appearance, and he gave me $10 for a CD. And this happened quite a bit because of the way they were, always on my case about something.
Mm-hmm.
That people thought they could take advantage of me and say I did something when I didn't do anything.
Okay.
So I said a little smirk. What was that about?
No, nothing. Anyway, I'm like, okay, I'm listening. There ain't no smirk.
So this guy claims that he gave me $10 for a CD and never got a CD. And then of course they said I pocketed the money. So we were talking about it, and they're like, Coop said, Tobin said, I think you should go get the guy a CD now, and go to his house and give him one right now. I said, okay. And then Tobin was like, why stand your ground, Steve? I'm like, I don't care. I'll give him the CD. I'll go home from there. It doesn't matter to me.
Like there you go. Go home from there. See?
Exactly.
Always working that angle. Hey, I'll do this if I can go home from here.
Yeah. It's all coming around,
Exactly. Go ahead.
So Tobin's like, why stand your ground, Steve? I'm like I said, I'll just go home from there. I don't care. So then Coop says, and now another story that actually happened was when I was out of high school, I worked at a convenience store. And I'll try to tell this real quick. And the guy came in. I knew the guy lived by me. And there was a long line, so he cut in front of the line. He's like, here's 10 for gas on pump 3. Threw a 20 on the table, on the counter, and left. because of the line. So I'm like, all right, he left. I said, I'll give him his $10 back tomorrow because I was working the night shift. I lived by him. I said, I'll go to his house, give him the $10. So the next day came, I went to his house. He wasn't home. So while I was doing that, apparently he went to Stewart's and said, I think I gave Steve a 20 last night, but I didn't get any change back. So because of that I got fired. So big deal. Who cares? All right.
Okay.
So they would accuse me of stealing $10.
Wait a second. I think your mistake here was that you told the Coop and Tobin about this, didn't you?
Oh my God, that was my big mistake. They knew about it. Yeah.
See, that's what set you up for this. Go ahead. Anyways, I apologize.
Yeah. So then we were talking about this other Mama Luke with the CD.
Mm-hmm.
And then Coop goes, "What is this? A Stewart's thing all over again? And another $10 stealing for Rockin Steve?" and that's when I lost it. That's when I lost it.
Oh,
I took the headphones. They were Mikey's headphones. He just bought them. I slammed them on the counter. They broke into 6 pieces. I walked out, and then I was about to leave. Really was because I was so pissed. And then somehow Mike convinced me to go back in, and then hilarity ensued.
Well, I don't know if hilarity ensued. I mean, I was still, I do remember you coming back in the studio, and it was still very uncomfortable because I know you were very upset at this time. And one of the other things from this point on, I can remember you was just saying, "Is John trying to calm you down?" And I mean, Tobin always played you up and to get you riled up and so forth.
Yeah.
But then he was trying to calm you down, like, "What is it? What's wrong?" And I just remember you go, "Well, he's a scumbag."
Yeah, because he called me a scumbag.
Exactly.
He called me a scumbag. He didn't know the fact that I'm a scumbag. Right. I said, no, and the funny part was they were blaming me, and I said, I didn't take that guy's money. And he goes, "You're a scumbag, Steve." And I'm like, "Prove it, dick." And then that's when I took the headphones down.
And that's the classic case of, a Coop on the air versus off the air as far as, him treating you. Yeah. But, gosh, oh, man, I'll tell you what, that was one of my most uncomfortable moments there, other than having to be. And what's funny about that is other than having to be on air, I was always one of those that was kind of timid to be there, or be on air and so forth.
I'm sure that was one of your most uncomfortable moments, but the messed up thing is that they thrived on it because they got me mad and people loved it.
Oh yeah, hey, it drove ratings.
That's what Tobin had on the board right there. Because when I get mad, especially back then, I cry. I just don't know why he does it. For some reason, anger with me equates tears.
I can relate to that in certain situations. So you're not the only one. Trust me on that. Okay.
Especially back then. So there was this sign. We had a dry erase board, and Tobin had on it. It said "Tears equal ratings." Like, you bastard.
Hey, you know what? It was true, though. I mean, That's what made you the Hudson Valley radio icon that you still are today. So, guys, listen, we are going to take a quick break here on the Break Room with JB. We have our special guest on the Reunited Series, the first guest, Rockin Steve. We are going to be right back with a few more stories. We're actually going to play a game with Rockin Steve, a Would You Rather game. I highlighted a couple questions. He has no idea what they are, so it'll be interesting to see his answers and explanations. So we'll be right back on the Break Room with JB.